Yeah.
I swear I still mess this intro up after a whole year of doing this show.
I don't think so, but we're going round 2 again.
Let's do it again. Might as well.
End it.
Let's go. Full disclosure, I do have this Ohio State sweatshirt on, and we are recording before the game, so we do not know the outcome. But when people hear this, they will know the outcome. So don't be like, if something bad happens, why is he wearing that sweatshirt if something bad happens?
It's preordained.
Yeah. Anyway, what is going on, Johnny?
Not a lot. Just like you said, we're recording this on a special day. Because we're gonna record this before you and I go on Christmas break. So it's Saturday and it's noon-ish for me and 11:30ish for you. And so got the Penn State game going on in the background. It is crazy cold here in Ohio. Crazy cold. So it's funny because like when you talk about recording today, I'm like, yeah, I'll wake up, I'll get my run in, I'll get this done, I'll get that done, and I'll be ready to record. Dude, I woke up and it was like 15 degrees. I'm like, or I can lay around in my PJs, watch College Game Day, record, and then go for a still cold run, but not as cold run. So
yeah,
that is what we got going on. How about you?
Yeah, it's been pretty nice here. It's been in the 60s during the day. Usually sunny. Can't complain. It's in the 40s at night, which is nice for sleeping. But yeah. Overall, I can't complain. Although in a couple days we're flying back to Ohio, so I'll be joining you in the cold for the holidays. But yeah, I think I saw on Strava you did like a 4+ mile run the other day.
I mean, we can call it a run if we want to. I did move forward for 4 miles. Like we can definitely say that I moved forward for 4 miles. So yeah, that is true. It's funny because I'm really nervous about coming back from both that quad injury plus the heart stuff and where that quad injury was, it was right above the kneecap. So, me with all my, I have just destroyed cartilage in my knees from my years in the military and just years of just being a heathen to my own body.
Yeah.
So that injury of that quad right above all that damaged cartilage, it just makes that injury even like exponentially worse.
Mm-hmm.
I think the medical term is exacerbate. It is wildly painful how bad that knee and quad injury was, and like occasionally still kind of can be. Anywho, long story short, between that knee injury and the heart stuff, I promised myself and I promised Jen it will be a super slow entry back into running.
Yeah.
And so, because it was almost a solid year of no running. And so I'm doing a couch to 5K, right?
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that couch to 5K, it's a run walk program, and it's designed for people who's quite literally never ran, right? Yeah. So there's times in it where it's like you have a 5-minute free run or a 10-minute free run. Well, I'm like, and you're supposed to do like 10 minutes of free run, so you can run, you can walk, you can run, you can do whatever. It's 10 minutes for you to move forward however you want. Well, I'm like, I can run the full fucking 10 minutes.
Right.
So it's funny because it's supposed to be getting you ready for a 5K, but because I can run so much of the run walk section of it, I end up running it all. So like already like getting ready for a 5K, I'm already, as you mentioned, doing 4+ mile runs. So today is supposed to be the day that I do my official 5K of like graduating this little program. And so okay. I'll probably just still do a 5K just because it's what it is.
Yeah.
But then after that, I'm contemplating because the little couch to 5K program's over. So now I'm like, okay, now it gets really tricky, right? Like now I have to be disciplined. I can't be an idiot.
Yeah.
And go out and like 7-mile runs and 10-mile runs. And like, oh, look, I did 7. I surely I can knock out 10. Well, I did 10. Of course I can do 15. You know, like I gotta be careful
Yeah.
not to do that kind of dumb shit.
Well, you're being super smart. Like even, I took a break after Mountain Lakes at the end of September, and I really only ran like maybe twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. So very
Yeah.
limited mileage. And just recently, I'm like, okay, it's time to start ramping up, getting back into it. Well, I did 2 weeks where I ran 5 days, and I did like 30, maybe 30 miles total last week, which when I'm training, 30 miles would be like a rest week, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I swear, man, like injured something like under the ball of my big toe, like, like it's just, I don't know. I guess the older we get, we just got to ramp up so much slower, and being disciplined is the hardest part.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is interesting. So here comes a absolute batshit crazy comment, right? And I think you alluded to something really, really on point. As we get older, we have to ramp up slower, right? Or, and like this is a weird thing. And I look at like the Ron Rosses, and I look at the Ron Ross. Oh, dude, who was the RD for Roma Scissors? An absolute legend.
Yeah.
Golly days. Anyways, I look at like
I'll think of it.
I look at guys like that, and I'm like, or you just don't shut it all the way down, right? Like they're like, yeah, which is super hard in itself, right? But yeah, I don't know, but yeah, trying to take it real nice and easy. God, these days that's driving me nuts. I can't think of his name right now. Ron Ross.
It's not Roy Hedger, is it?
Roy Hager. Roy Hager.
But who's the other guy that is famous around Mohican? Seems like his name Dick or
Dick Canterbury. Dude,
Dick Canterbury, yeah. Another legend.
I mean, that old bad motherfucker had a knee replacement and was like, he basically ran the day before his knee replacement, had the knee replacement, and then walked, the day of the knee replacement, which is not abnormal. But then basically, like, I bet he took next to no time off before he was like kind of shuffling down. Like that dude's a whole nother breed though. Like that dude is not.
Well, I think he dropped a sub 2400 miler at Tunnel Hill. Not this year, but like the year before, I think.
Yeah, maybe. And what is he, 70? I think
he's in his 70s.
He's got to be up there somewhere. Like this will sound fun. Like I am more than comfortable admitting that I have no qualms with what I'm about. Have you ever seen that dude with no shirt on?
No.
Dude.
He's ripped?
Holy hell. Holy
He must work out.
Dude. So it's funny because I have been to his house way back in the day when I worked for a roofing company. I went up to his house to look at some roofing stuff for him. And, I mean, it's a friend, right? So we went in the basement, was kicking it, shooting the shit. That dude has a full-on ass gym in his basement. Like,
wow.
Like he lifts like he's a athlete. Like he lifts like he is a freak of nature.
That explains a lot, man. We need to start lifting. We need to start doing weights. And
very clearly,
I cannot bring myself to do it, but we ordered some of the mats, and we have a full garage now where we're living. So I have a big space in the garage. I'm gonna set it up, dude. I got my kettlebell. I got some mats. I'm gonna order a pull-up bar, and I'm gonna do it. I need to start strength training.
I saw a video of a guy. Who was like, he was a runner, maybe a triathlete. Anyways, he was like, listen, I'm fucking insane. He might have been a baseball player. He was an athlete. Just whatever. Just erase all the bullshit I just mumbled about. He was an athlete of some kind. He had this workout. He's like, I swear by this. If you don't lift any other weights, and this is all you do every day, it was an everyday workout that he did. He said you will be unbelievably strong, and it only required it required two 20-pound dumbbells, right? and it was a full body workout. It was arm curls, shoulder presses, like
Wow.
squats, lunges,
Yeah.
and it took 10 to 15 minutes to do this exercise. And he's like, every day, this is what you do. And he's like, and he said he'd been doing it for decades. He said he's been doing this exercise forever. And
Like
he said
never up in the weight or anything. Just
he said the most he ever got the weights up to were 35-pound dumbbells. And he said even at 35-pound dumbbells, he's like, you'll never do, he's like, it will make you unbelievably strong. It was a TikTok I saw. I'll look for it and I'll shoot it, because I even thought, you know what? Fuck, I may start doing that. It was a super easy workout. I'm like, I may start doing that every day. Every day might be a stretch. I'm gonna do my best to do it every day. It was a really cool.
Maybe 3 to 5 days a week.
Maybe 3 to 5. Since it's on TikTok, and I know a lot of people don't have TikTok, what I'll do is I'll screen record it. I'll screen record a TikTok, and I'll shoot it to you so we can share it out. It was really cool.
Cool, man. All right, well, let's talk about why we're here today. This is our last episode of the year. So we wanted to do a year in review and talk about some of the maybe some of the crazy headlines that we talked about, and maybe some of the great performances, and we're gonna hit it all: comedy, drama. But yeah, so we can start with January. And so most of these, I will say, we're going to talk about when we reported the story. So the story might not have happened in the month that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But the first story happened in December of 2023. So, but we did talk about it in March. But so I moved it to January anyway. But this is this guy who embodies the spirit of ultra running. I would call him the ultra running spirit animal, Will Sprouse, who fuels his runs on pizza and beer. The guy once drank like a 30 pack in a 100-mile race. He's the guy that owns the pizza shop in Kansas, and he's in his, is he 80 or he's in his 70s or 80?
I feel like I recall him being in his 70s.
Yeah, and he finished his 100th 100-miler, so he joins this elite club. I think maybe like, how many people are in that? Like 30 people, maybe. So yeah, that was one of the guys that we had talked about. And
and to this day, it blows my mind to knock out. First off, I love me a good beer, right? I do and love a good beer.
Yeah.
And I'll even on some days I'll have more than one beer. But to knock out a 30 rack just on a normal day is insane. Like, that's crazy talk. But to knock out a 30 rack while running a race is like next level batty. Like, that is insane. So
yeah, it is. And I totally I lied about his age. He's actually, well, he was 54 when he did his 100 miler. So he's probably 55 now. And but the crazy thing is that, well, so he became the 28th person to do 100 milers, and he didn't even start doing 100 milers till 2012. So in 12 years, he did.
In 12 years, he did
100 milers. So
I think the math. So 100 divided by 12. I mean, that's 8 a year. That's over 8 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, you're essentially having to do 9 a year.
And throw in the mix of all that, in 2020, after he finished his 65th 100 miler, he experienced a stroke, a life-threatening stroke from a heart birth defect that he had. Lost long-term feeling on the right side of his body, and his recovery was long and hard. So not only did he do all this, he recovered from a stroke. So this guy has got to be my vote for ultra running spirit animal.
It's funny because we lead off the show me talking about like, oh, woe is me, my poor little quad, and like, oh, woe is me. This cat's out here knocking out 900 milers in a year,
and having a stroke and
having a
fueling
stroke
with
and
beer and pizza.
Golly, it really does go to show when you think you're the hardest dude in the bar, there's some other cat right down the the bar from you, right? Like it's just like there's always someone bigger, better, and tougher, man. There's always someone bigger, better, and tougher out there.
And if I ever find myself in Kansas, I would love to go to this guy's pizza place.
Oh, hell yeah.
Another notable headline for January was the UTMB drama boiled to a head. So all this stuff happened with UTMB, right? They're gobbling up all these races. Gary Robbins and race director, pretty famous ultra runner from the Vancouver area. He puts on races up in Canada, and one of his premier races. They delayed on getting him the permits at this ski resort, and basically the time had passed for him to get the permit, so he couldn't hold the event. Well, then all of a sudden it was announced that UTMB is having a race there on the same day that he would have had his race. So there was that whole drama. And then Corinne Malcolm, who was a little vocal about some of the things that UTMB could improve on, since they are kind of like a corporate ultra running company now that they merged with Ironman, and they didn't ask her to come back to do the English broadcast of UTMB, which she has done for, a few years now. So that happened. And then the icing on the cake is when Zach Miller and Killian Jornet wrote an email to a bunch of other elite ultra runners suggesting a boycott of UTMB, and somebody outed them, and and it was kind of brought up a lot of controversy. So
I feel like we remember. I feel like I remember us talking about it, and we were pretty confident it was like a coach of one of the runners, right? That's what we kind of landed on.
I think it was.
Yeah. So
and then we moved into February, where Black Canyon, one of the most anticipated Black Canyon events in history, and not only that, one of the most anticipated ultra races of the year, because there was so much elite talent there. The young gun Hans Troyer was, he coming off his win at Bandera, and he was feeling pretty confident, and it was be interesting to see what he was going to do. The golden ticket for Western States was on the line, and then Hayden Hawks, coming back from injury, he just puts on a masterclass, dude, and set the course record. And not only that, like, there was so many fast times for the men and the women. I think the top 8 men all went under 8 hours at Black Canyon 100K. So,
and it was on a delayed start, right? You had the snowstorm.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I believe that's the first time that's ever happened, but there was a snowstorm and they delayed the start by 2 hours, I think.
So this might be an obvious question, but because I've never been in the desert after a snow. I'm impressed the times that there were, because in my mind I would think, if there was that much snow that they delayed it, it melts, it turns into mud, right? Like I would have assumed that starting section of that race would have just been like a mess, or
Yeah.
is it so dry that it just immediately absorbs and it's gone?
I think honestly, because the trails are kind of like packed sand, I think
Yeah.
that maybe moisture would actually, not too much moisture, but some moisture would be beneficial to the softness and the
So,
tracking. But
just give it a little bit of soft. Like it probably just made it just a little squishier than what it, because the what I remember of Black Canyon, the first bit, right? Like you do like, I don't know, a couple 100 meters on the track, you drop off, and then you kind of go behind that neighborhood, and
mhm.
then I, what was it? Probably the first 2 miles or so is
It's
not,
like a wide road.
yeah, and it's not sand. It is more dirt than it is sand. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then you,
it's like a fire road.
yeah, and then you get on the single track, and then it is hard packed. So I just
Yeah.
I
I
dude, Black Canyon was really cool. Yeah,
It
that year because
was,
it,
it
it just
was.
had so much stuff going on in it.
Yeah, and I think the snow was mainly contained to the higher elevations up there, so they probably
Yeah,
only had to deal with that for a little while.
like probably not even 5 miles probably, and then you
Yeah,
just bomb them.
yeah.
You know, what I mean, yeah,
And I remember we were all following it on the live stream, and
yeah,
it was a lot of fun. It was an exciting kind of kickoff to the year.
yeah,
Um, and I believe Rachel Drake ended up winning for the women's race, which was super exciting too. Remember when they were crossing the river,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then she just like, they were neck and neck, and then she just took
Yeah.
off, and there was no catching her. But actually, I want to just make sure. Yep, Rachel Drake finished in sub 9, 8 hours and 47 minutes. I think that was the second fastest female time at Black Canyon, I believe. And Hayden Hawk's winning time was 7 hours and 30 minutes. So, also in February, Laz, the Barkley race director, and also the mastermind behind lots of crazy cool races,
Yeah.
including the backyard ultra. He got inducted into the Ultrarunning Hall of Fame, and just by looking at Laz, you wouldn't think he's a runner. He looks like a hillbilly, smokes cigarettes, wears the flannels. But the guy's put in over a couple 100,000 miles in his lifetime. So.
I was going to say, when you're kind of going over his accolades, right? I feel like a lot of people know him as the RD, right? Like a lot of people know Laz, the RD Laz,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I feel like sadly, it's lost on history that dude was a bad motherfucker back in the day. You know what I mean? I mean, and like I say, back in the day, as if this isn't a dude that will still try to traverse the United States every year.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I mean, like it's not like he's not a badass anymore. I mean, the dude still will put that work in, but like, dude, in his prime, that big ass map, I still think one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a documentary is the documentary about Barclays, when he's unfolding that big ass map.
Yeah.
And it's the state of Tennessee, and it's like it like takes up a whole room almost.
Yeah.
Like he is just a wildly fascinating dude.
And he's highlighted every road that he's run on.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
He's trying to do every single street, Tennessee.
Yeah. That dude's taking city strides to a whole new level.
Yeah. Moving on to March, Jim Walmsley moved back to Arizona after getting his much desired win at the previous year's UTMB. Directed his focus back to Western states, and we all know that story. He went on to win, not in a convincing fashion, but definitely enough to get it done in the second fastest time at Western states. But so that was kind of an interesting move, how he had spent a couple of years in France chasing that UTMB dream, and he got it done. So, Johnny, in March, you had to dodge some tornadoes.
Dude,
on the night we were recording.
I'd kind of forgotten about that, but yeah, that was funny. Yeah, I think we talked about this later on, like the next episode. That was like, we've lived in this house for 19 years, right? And I think in the 19 years, that might be one of only 2, maybe 3 times where I was like, oh, this is kind of real. Like, this is really kind of real. It was that same night. I was texting Ronnie, our buddy, who lives like 2 miles down the road from me, and I'm like, dude, are you guys okay out there? He's like, oh, Camille and Cross are in the bathroom. They're hiding out. I'm like, well, where are you at? He's like, oh, I'm on the back porch. I'm like, you're a moron. And then it's not like 10 minutes later, he's like, all right, I'm in the house. I got really scary. I'm like, yeah, you idiot. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
that's great.
Dude.
Yeah. And I can't believe that was all the way back in March. Seems like it was just yesterday, don't it?
So, man, like 2024 flew by, right? Like, it really did fly by. And so I was talking to some of my younger guys that I have on my team, and they're like, yeah, 20, they're talking about how fast you went by. And I'm like, well, I got bad news for you guys. It's kind of a proven point. It's like kind of a proven, like, it's the way humans perceive time. The older you get, the faster years go by, right? Because you've amassed more of them. So per unit, they begin to shrink down. And they're like, what? Why would you give us that depressing kind of stuff? just keeping it real with you guys. As you get older, I was like, you got to think about it. At 47, the years are like this for me. And they're like, shut the fuck. All right. Like, none of us young dudes want to hear that stuff.
It's a fact. It's a fact. And every generation doesn't want to believe it until it's happening. And then it does. So, yeah, also in March, Camille Herron went on to set in one 6-day event, set 11 world records at Lululemon's Further event. That kind of gets overshadowed later in the year by another thing that we'll talk about. But
I was just thinking that, man, it's just such a sad reality for her, right? Like, it's so like, it's like, I mean, but to not ruin what we're talking about here in a little bit. Yeah, dude. I mean, if you think about 560 miles in 6 days, like that on face value is insane, right?
Yeah.
But then
she's so accomplished.
Yeah. And then you take into it like, oh, by the way, while you are on the way of doing 560 miles in 6 days, while you're in the path of doing that, you also knocked out 11 world records.
Right. Along the way, she just scooped up 11 world records.
It's kind of like saying, like, okay, you ran the world's fastest 100-mile, right? But while you're running the world's fastest 100-miler, you also ran a world record 1 mile. And then, oh, by the way, a world record 5K. And then, oh, by the way, a world record. Like, it is batshit crazy to think about that accomplishment of what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's even real. Like, it's so hard to wrap your head around that being a thing.
Yeah. 11 world records in one go. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever set 11 world records in one event. You know, like within the event. I mean, that may be a first in history.
Yeah, it's a really wild thing to think about. Like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around that. Like, that sheer ability of being hella fast. I mean, that's literally taking the 3 major components: extremely fast, extremely strong, and unbelievable endurance. Like, you have to have the trinity to be able to do that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just insane.
She's got that ability to lock in a pace and just stay with it.
Relentless.
Like, yeah. Whereas most of us, we just get slower as time goes. But
start feeling sharp.
And some of us are walking the last 30 to 40 miles to a 100-miler.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it.
And then moving on to April, and actually, I think Barkley's Barkley Marathons was at the end of March, but we reported on it in beginning of April. But needless to say, Barkley Marathons did not disappoint this year. It launched right back into the media spotlight. There was a record number of runners, 7, that started the 5th and final loop at Barkley, and a record number of finishers. 5 people ended up finishing. So let's I think it's like what, a 30-year history at that race or more. And in that whole time, there was only, before this race, I think there was only 16 people that had finished.
Yeah. I remember when you and I recorded this episode, we literally had the wiki page pulled up for it. It was like counting people down through it. And it was just nuts, because it was crazy, because it was one of those things where like you had to go years and years and years before you had a finisher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you went years and years and years before you had a 2-time finisher. Like you went like crazy amount of years before you had a 2-time finisher. But
I just heard David Horton, we were talking about him from Hellgate. Hellgate 100K. I just heard him talking on a podcast, and he was the first person from the United States to finish Barkley. Yeah. And him and the other guy, 2 of them finished in that year. He said they were both going to put their hand down on the yellow gate at the same time. And the other guy kind of held up, and David Horton put his first, and David Horton's yelling at him, "You were supposed to do."
That's great. Yeah, it's awesome.
But so he was first, and the other guy was second. But anyway, for the United States. But anyway, so it was a special year, and some of these runners had finished multiple Barkleys, But Ihor Varies, who got first, that was his first Barkley finish. John Kelly had finished a couple. Jared Campbell's finished the most. I think he's finished 4. Greg Hamilton, that was his first Barkley. And then the biggest headline, and I think for me,
biggest and maybe most important
for me, is performance of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna register on a lot of the the award stuff, just because of the style of Barkley, but is the first female finisher ever of the Barkley Marathons in the history of the Barkley Marathons, 30 to 40 years it's been going, is Jasmine Paris. And she finished with less than 2 minutes to go. Yeah. It was just awesome to see, and especially after Laz, all those years of taunting women, saying, no, that woman's not going to finish. And then she did it. It was awesome.
So here's my 2-part question. Does she come back again this year and attempt it? And then how long do we wait for another woman finisher of Barkleys?
Those are great questions. I'm looking forward to.
I know. It's funny because I don't get myself hella worked up over Barkleys. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get myself really worked up over it. But like this year, because of last year, I'm like, oh, okay, I got a little extra juice to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just because I for those reasons, I'm like, all right, now there's like this new. There's like a new
intrigue.
Yeah, there's like a new kindled intrigue into it where I'm like, okay, now we got something different to talk about.
Yeah, and this year when we knew it was a possibility, or when all these runners went out on the final loop, including Jasmine Paris, I was refreshing that Twitter feed because Keith Dunn is the only guy that's reporting
media
live updates on what's going on, and he has his names for everybody, which is kind of funny. And Jasmine Paris was like tiny European woman or something like that, or little European woman, but it was fun to follow. And like you, I'm really psyched to follow it in this next coming year. So, so that was fun. And the hardest geezer finished his run across Africa, from south to north, and he went through a lot of stuff. That was fun to talk about. Got robbed. Him and his crew got robbed at gunpoint.
Taken hostage at one point,
and
right?
he got taken hostage.
Yeah.
Yeah. He encountered some crazy weather, sandstorm, like just about as many trials and tribulations as you could have doing something like that. He went through it all and came out the other side. So it was pretty impressive. And also in April, Tara Dower won Umstead outright. She beat the girls, the guys. I had forgot that Tara actually ran Black Canyon 100K earlier in the year too.
Like a month or two before. Yeah, like a month or two before. Which you look at it, right? Like if you look at how Black Canyon lines up with Olmsted, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot
it's a good training run.
Yeah, it's a lot like how runners here in the Mideast, like how a lot of runners here in the Midwest will leverage either forget the PR into Mo or leverage Mo 50 into
Burning River.
I
did that twice.
Burning River into Hallucination. Like all these races kind of like conveniently set themselves up to be trained. And so now you look back on hindsight 2020, Tara running 7th at Black Canyon, like it's hard to say, oh, she wasn't pushing herself up. I mean, I'm sure she was to an extent, but she probably wasn't burning it down because she knew that she had Olmsted. Olmsted was the A race, you know what I mean? So it is really cool. I also love the fact that 7th at Olmsted as a training run, first overall at Olmsted, or 7th overall at Black Canyon as a training run. Olmsted first overall, and then you're still like, oh, this is small news.
Yeah. What's gonna come? We will talk about.
Such a cool story to like retrospectively look back on and take it in from a bigger view.
Yeah, she had a great year, and I didn't really know much about Tara Dower until one of our first episodes. We're talking about the Keeping Trail Running Weird Awards, and it was that epic fail, and she had all the cactus in her stuck in her from Javelina. When she fell into that, she fell into the what's that type of cactus? I don't know. It's the smaller ones that. Anyway.
Puffballs. Then you're right. Like I was like kind of like in a weird kind of way. That was like for me, it was for sure the first time I'd ever heard about her. And I remember you like, oh yeah, she's kind of a cool lady. She's from the East Coast, she's a Virginia woman. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that is kind of cool, And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and it's like boom, boom.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is super cool.
Totally. Moving on to May, Courtney Dauwalter won Mount Fuji in a convincing fashion, like she usually does.
Yeah.
And she got 3rd overall. And Mount Fuji that's a huge race, man. I'm like, for the world stage, there's a lot of elite runners there. And she missed 2nd place by 30 seconds. So she podiumed overall at Mount Fuji and dominated the women's race. Bo Palander became the first person over 80 years old to go 100 miles in less than 24 hours. So
just legends walking amongst us, man.
That's right.
Jeez,
I get as psyched about that as I do any elite ultra runner winning a race because it's aspirations, man. It just shows you that you can still do this stuff when you're older.
It's what makes this a sport. Just what makes it a sport of kings and queens, right?
That's right.
To steal a line from the Possum King himself. It's the fun stuff like that. Mark Carroll. It's just a really cool thing. So
absolutely. I mean, ultra running, you can show up on the same starting line as the most elite ultra runner there is, and you can start in front if you want to. You can start right next to them, shoulder to shoulder.
I mean, there are certain idiots on this podcast that accidentally signed up to start in the elite corral. And then
well, he may or may not have been tricked by some of the other idiots that listen to this.
Fucking dumb, man. Like, oh, okay. I don't know why. That's so fucking stupid.
That was pretty great.
Yeah.
And then, then Cocodona 250 was in May, and that was like extremely exciting following that, because it started on a Monday and ended on a Friday. So basically the whole week we were kind of doing that. And even during our show, when we were recording, there was some pretty exciting moves had taken place. Like the men's winner finished that morning. Geraldus Sabertus overtook Bronco Billy in the last, maybe there was like 4 miles left. I mean, Bronco was dominating.
He was just running away with it. It was wild because like you could actually watch it. I feel like there was ended up being like a live feed of it where like you kind of scooted by him. I mean, like you could kind of see it. So
there was a camera down there in that Buffalo Park in Flagstaff, and that's where the trail. That's where they come down off of Mount. Starts with an E, maybe. Whatever that last climb is, Mount Ebert or this is gonna drive me nuts now. Anyway,
we need Pete Griggs on for this. Pete knows that course like the back of his hand at this point.
Yeah, so they were coming down from that mountain. Bronco had the lead. Bronco got inflammation in his airways, and he could hardly breathe. He couldn't breathe through his mouth. He had to breathe in through his nose to get air down. And that is what kind of led to his downfall there on that last downhill. And Geraldus, all the props to Geraldus. He overtook him and won the race. And also in that race, Mika Twos was totally dominating the women's race. I mean, like by many hours, dude.
Yeah. like 8 hours or some crazy shit, was just running away with it.
Yeah. And then she takes this like extremely bad fall. I think she thought she had a broken elbow or a broken jaw or something.
I remember I was thinking like orbital bone, jaw, elbow. Like
all of the above.
All of the above. But in all fairness, you fall at mile 180. It probably does feel like your fucking world's coming to an end, right? You're probably like, it's like what was the old school comedy? Take me, Lord, I'm dying over here.
Yeah.
It's right along those lines where she's like, like her world's coming to an end. So and oh, by the way, her leaving, right, which like was a huge controversy, man. People were losing their shit over her leaving the course and going and staying at a hotel, and then coming back and doing what she did. Like, and as you know, like she ends up taking second at the race still.
Yeah.
And people lost their shits. But hey, listen, the race says as long as you leave from this point and come back at this point, you're good to go. You can go to a hotel. If your dumbass wants to drive all the way down to this road, this hotel, and come back, and you're willing to give up that time, we're cool with it. So she didn't do anything wrong. She had.
I was to say she only had like 14 miles to go or something.
Yeah,
like she was at the aid station before the climb up Mount. It's Mount Eldon, by the way. I looked it up. And can you imagine being that far ahead that you can literally go to a hotel and sleep for 8 hours and then go back and still get second place?
I cannot imagine that. I cannot. So this is funny. This is a behind the scenes kind of thing for everyone watching or listening. I'm reviewing the show notes as you and I are kind of talking about stuff. I'm following along, and like I got down to, and I'm like, Mike Thews. Who the fuck is Mike Thews? And I'm
Oh, I
I'm like,
mistyped the show notes.
and I'm like, I don't remember a Mike Thews falling. And I'm like, dude, like, like, what am I going to do when he says this? And then you said Mike. I'm like, oh, Micah. I'm like, it makes so much more sense now. So
Yeah.
I've been scrolling down, looking at this for for a while now. I'm like, oh shit, like, what? Here it comes, baby. So
Yeah,
it's really funny.
I
Awesome.
heard her on AJW's podcast like maybe 2 weeks ago. She's pretty cool. And she's from like I think Royal Oak, Michigan area.
That's yeah. Yep.
Which I lived in that area for quite a few years. So
Yeah.
but yeah, no, she seems like a pretty cool girl. And so yeah, she went to sleep, came back, got second. Rachel Entrekin ended up, who was battling with her earlier in the race, ended up getting first place. So yeah, Cocodona was filled with drama and fun.
Really fun year. Really
Yeah.
fun year at Coco this year.
Yeah. Next headline from May. A lot happened in May.
May was a big month. Yeah.
Ran Sid Goat.
Yeah.
AKA, well, actually, Doug Owsley, AKA Ran Sid Goat, completed every single street in Columbus. And Johnny and I know him, and he's just like a quirky, cool dude. And it's a very cool project that he put together. And where did he finish? He finished at an intersection.
Yeah, he finished at the intersection of Columbus and Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so rancid go.
Yeah. I mean, it is funny because like I mean, knowing what he does as a job, knowing what his professional life is, and knowing him as a person, it also you're right. It is such a goat thing to do, but to that point, it does illustrate, like, if you know him as a person, you know what he does for a living. It does show like how his mind works, and not and like how orchestrated a lot of his thinking is. You know what I mean? Like that dude, like when a lot of people are on move 1, he is on move like 5. You know what I mean? Like he really is a very, very like forward planning kind of person. Like it's really interesting. He would be the person you'd want to have on a lot of. There's a lot of qualities about him that you're like, dude, you'd make a great crew chief. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So next story was Kim Sargent finished her 100th 100-miler, and she became the 30th person. And when I thought that Will Sprouse was 28th, I had to look it up because there had to be a 29th person that we missed, and that was Bobby Keogh of New Mexico. And Bobby was the 29th person, and Kim Sargent of Texas became the 30th person to finish 100 milers in May. Killian Jornet just showed up in May and dominated Zagama, which it's like, I think that's like a marathon distance, but it's one of the most, it racks up some of the most elite trail runners in the world. The shorter distance trail runners typically, but there's still like a lot of climbing. I'm thinking 9,000 feet of climbing in that.
Yeah, it's great. I remember watching that video when we talked about it, and just watching him kind of like gallop right up the mountain. And you're like,
just prancing uphill.
Yeah. You're just like, dude, that doesn't even make sense how he's doing that. So it is a really interesting race. It's kind of cool.
Yep. And one of the fun headlines that we talked about, drama headlines that we talked about in May, was that Spring Energy got busted.
Dude. Love it. Yeah.
They got busted or they got called out for mislabeling their calorie content or their carb content on both calorie and carb
Yeah,
content
it
on
was
Awesome Sauce, their Awesome Sauce energy gel, which is all natural, by the way. And some people, really the Reddit community was like, there's no way that with all natural ingredients that you can fit, 200, what was it?
Yeah.
280 calories or something?
280 on the big one. Yeah. Like
There's no way you can fit 280 calories in this packet. And Coop, Jason Coop, he's like a coach and an elite ultra runner or sub elite ultra runner, has a podcast, whatever. He paid a lot of money to get all this testing done on the energy gels, and it turns out that they were way off on their.
You are correct. You cannot get that much in there. Like, it is kind of crazy that I don't know. I don't know. And what's kind of interesting, we really haven't heard anything back from them since, right? Like, it's like.
Yeah. No, seriously.
You know what I mean?
Are they even selling?
Yeah, I don't think they really recovered. I don't think they recovered, which is crazy to think about. You know what I mean? Like, it's.
Yeah, Mom's been the word on Spring Energy. I'm wondering if they even have, if their website is, there's their website.
I was going to say, is website even up? Yeah.
Yeah, their website's still going. They're still selling product.
Are they still selling Awesome Sauce?
I remember they had stopped selling Awesome. Now, oh man, I'm just gonna share this.
Oh, here we go. All right, new and improved Awesome Sauce.
No, this is interesting here. Let's see, share screen, sports nutrition. Okay, here we go. So if you saw that, I don't know if you saw that, but when they flashed the 3 energy gels there, look at 100 calories.
There it is.
100. There's a lemon, new one. They're 100 calories, 100. They're all 100. They're different flavors.
Awesome Sauce.
Acai.
Acai.
Matcha berry.
Ooh.
That says 310 kcal.
Dude, 300 calories is a shit ton of calories if you can get that in a.
How they must have put. I wonder how big that pouch is.
it's like a full on. It's like a full
like a half gallon.
like a handheld, like a one of the soft flasks.
There they are, 310 calories, man. 110 grams. Dude, how much fat do they have to put in that? 14 grams.
I don't know, but if it's that much, man, it's probably, if it has that much fat, it's probably a pretty good product, right? Like, it probably fuels you pretty well. Yeah. Fuck it, I'll fall for it. I supported them before. I'll fall for it. I'll do them again. I actually really like their product.
It's kind of like they doubled down. Like, okay, you're right. Nobody's going to spend another $5,000 to get testing done on this one.
Yeah, you caught us out on our bullshit. I also like the idea that they're like, okay, you caught us out, fine. Like, we're now we're going to go hella big. We're going to go big time on what we're putting in there.
Yeah, sorry everyone. That's watching on the video. I forgot to put the screen up on the video, but it's up now. But anyway, yeah. So Spring Energy, that was one of the fun drama-filled stories that we went over this year. Let's see. That was May. Moving on to June, we're like almost 55 minutes in, so we might have to start.
Yeah, we might have to pick up the pace on it. So much
speeding up a little bit here.
Yeah.
All right. So in June, Stein Rec set a women's 48-hour record, snagging it from Camille Herron, but there was some controversies. I think it's still being ratified, which
is crazy.
It may never be ratified.
Yeah.
And I remember she did it by it was like 200 meters or something.
Yeah.
Very close, but
Where was that at though? Didn't that have something to do with it? It was because where was that too, right? Didn't it have something to play into it?
Well, she set the 6-day record as well, and later we'll talk about that. A guy set a record at that other event. So there's some controversy about whether or not that venue, there was something going on at that venue because so many people did so well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know if her 48-hour record is going to be ratified or not. It's kind of weird how all that shit works. Can't we just have one set of records? I mean, come on.
Yeah. And it's because different countries, different bodies that govern, different governing bodies, all kind of stuff. So
yeah. In June, a Tahoe 200 volunteer became an instant legend by saving a drop bag that was stolen by a bear.
That bear could have kept that fucking drop bag. There's no way I'm chasing that thing into the woods, man.
Hell yeah.
I would have. Yeah, you can have that fucking drop bag.
Go feast on those spring energy gels. You're not gonna be able to hibernate on those things.
You ain't gonna have any energy after those cheap ass spring energy gels.
That's
dumbass
right.
Bear.
You're not gonna make it through winter. In June, Johnny had a heart scare and let everyone know that they should get their shit checked out.
Man, yeah, don't believe the hype just because you're a runner, you're healthy. Learn that the hard way. Yeah, for sure. So it is kind of funny because I was out warming up for a run yesterday. Again, being an old person, something I've begrudgingly accepted. You have to do the dynamic warm-ups before runs nowadays. So I was out there doing some, dynamic warm-ups, and a guy lives across the road from me. He's like, "Oh, you're allowed to get back to running now." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, and like he and I got to shooting the shit a little bit and chopping it up." And he's like, "I'll tell you, man." He's like, "After what you had told me about, back when you told me about it, he's like, I thought about that, and I thought about the fact my dad had a widowmaker also." He's like, I gotta tell you, I went ahead and I kind of listened to what you said, and I thought about it. Went in and got a chest scan for myself. He's like, I'm all good. He's like, but yeah, that's pretty wild. So, I will say, if you have the ability, or whatever, advocate for yourself. If you have any kind of family history, anything, just go get it checked out, because it's one of those wild things. Like, I never thought I'd be happy to have randomly come down with pericarditis. But had I not randomly came down with pericarditis, I would have never known I had like anywhere from 40 to 60% blockage.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. There's worse ways to go, right? I would, in my mind, I would have been bebopping down. Jamie, this is sadistic as shit. I know, and in my mind, I've envisioned this. I know where and what trail I was bebopping down when the lights would go off. Like, up on Hickory Ridge where the gnome tree is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Just a little bit beyond the gnome tree, there's this little uphill that's like a little bit more rooty than other, but it's also a little bit more rocky, and there's a massive tree. In my mind, that's it. And then some poor sap finds me leaning against that tree. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, worst ways to go, right? But I also probably don't want to do that when I'm like in my late 40s, early 50s. So, go get your stuff checked.
Yeah, that's how Micah True, Caballo Blanco, that's how he went, man. He was in New Mexico. They found him like over a river. He had some heart thing took him down.
Yeah. So,
all right. Well, we're all glad you're okay, Johnny. Walmsley was challenged by Rod Farvard at Western States.
Push hard by Farvard.
Western States was another exciting race that we followed this year pretty closely, and Hayden Hawks even sprinted around the track at the end and almost caught Rod for second place. Walmsley set the second fastest time, only behind his record time. And Katie Scheid dominated for the women in Western States. I mean, it wasn't even a competition. She just led the whole thing, just dominated. I think she was even leading the overall for a while at the beginning. but
like super early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, blind runner Will Barkin. We talked about this on the last episode with AJW's his year-end awards. Will Barkin missed the Western States cutoff by 30 seconds, and Will is a blind runner. But what an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah.
Even just finishing the 100-miler at Western States. I mean, a lot of people think that, California is just all like smooth plush single track, but it's, it's got its challenges. And especially in the first 50K, it's not a cupcake.
Yeah.
So,
for whatever reason, up in like literally, because we've talked about Western States a couple of times, right? Post Western States, it just kind of pops up here and there. Literally not until just hearing you say what you just said out loud, it dawned upon me. Farvard, right, leads the majority of the race at Western States. I think Walmsley caught him at like the 100K mark, somewhere around in there. I think is when Walmsley finally catches him.
They crossed the river. They crossed the river together.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, mile 72.
Yeah. And so then that's when Walmsley begins to spread the gap. And then Walmsley hits another gear and really pulls away later in the race. Yeah.
72 or 78?
So, yeah, I can't remember.
78. The river's at 78. So, 78. Yeah, Farvard was all the way up until mile 80.
And so imagine how much, like, it sucks he leads for 70 plus miles, right? And then gets caught, right? That sucks. It would have sucked so much more had he got caught by Hayden in those last little seconds, like the last literally 300 meters.
Yeah.
Like, it would have sucked so much more. So as much as I am a Hayden Hawk stan, I do kind of like the fact that Hayden wasn't quite able to catch him, because, like, dude, what a horrible feeling for Farvard if you would have got, like, goes from winning to third in one, like, in the last 20 miles and like in two separate events too. Like, right. I've never really thought about that. Like, dude, you went from first to third almost in like whoop, blink of an eye of 100 miles.
Well, and both of those guys are back next year. Yeah. So is Hayden Hawks coming back too? I think maybe. It should be a fun Western States again.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. In July, moving into July, the men's and women's records both fell at Hard Rock. Ludo Pomeroy and Courtney DeWalter set records. And Ludo, who's in his 40s, like Chuck one up for us that are in our 40s.
Dudes, yeah. I will always use that as a betting prop, if you will, moving forward. Always lean toward the more experienced runner at Hard Rock.
Yeah.
Like, I remember them talking about that, and now I'm like, all right, that's forever stuck in my memory. I'll always lean toward the older dude.
That's a strategy race, big time. I mean, you think about it. You have a 14,000 foot peak. You have multiple 13,000 foot peaks. So you're at altitude. You got to know when to put the hammer down, when to ease off, and it goes opposite direction every year. We talked about that. One year you're going up walls and down ramps, and the other years you're going up the ramps and down the wall, like AJW said. So a lot of strategy involved with Hard Rock. Experience definitely matters. Also in July, Steep Life Media, which is part of an offshoot of Aravaipa and Jameel Curry, his company acquired Ultrarunning magazine. So his dominance of the United States ultrarunning scene is expanding.
Still going strong.
Laz ended his LazCon in July. I think it was in July. I threw it in there because I thought about it after I did all the research. Or after I did the show notes, I was like, oh shoot, when did he? So as Laz ended it in Missouri, if I'm not mistaken, and it was at where his dad his dad's grave was.
I thought it was Kansas. I was thinking Kansas.
Maybe Kansas. Yeah, Kansas or Missouri, something.
Yeah.
But where his dad was buried is where he called it. And then in August, Eastern States 100, Chaz's Triple Crown race, the peak of Chaz's Triple Crown race got canceled due to biblical rains. Couple days leading up to the race, the flooding was on a massive scale. Johnny's showing us a video of the river there right through the campground, and it was just like insane. Like I couldn't even imagine. We looked at some of that video footage. Oh, it's terrible. So yeah, Eastern States 100 got canceled. Ryan Pluckelman of the Adventure Jogger podcast, he kind of retired from his podcast and handed it off to another guy. Adventure Jogger podcast I appreciated that because it was one that he, really kind of advocated for running east of the Mississippi. He was kind of the East Coast guy. He used to be involved with the other podcast, East Coast Ultra and Trail podcast. But anyway, Ryan left Adventure Jogger. David Roche in August runs his first 100-mile race ever at Leadville. Not only did he run his first 100, he won the race. Not only did he win the race, he set a long-standing, I think, 19 years course record that was originally set by Matt Campbell, I believe. Anyway, it was a record that nobody thought would be broken, and he did it. So pretty cool. And then in September, Katie Scheid wins UTMB. So she did the double. She got Western States and UTMB. Walmsley, none of us expected this, but he returned to UTMB, and he ended up dropping, I think at maybe mile 50 or so. He had an injury. He had an injury, supposedly. Steinrex sets the women's 6-day record, 567.68 miles. So she beat Camille's 6-day record. And then Matthew Bond also broke the 6-day record of Yannis Kouros, like the most famous multi-day runner ever, which Giannis set it in 2005, and Matthew Bond broke it at the same event that Steinrex broke the 6-day record, and Matthew went 650.1 miles. And this is the race that you're thinking of where they're like, how can the men's and the women's 6-day record go down in the same race? And there was a bunch of other top performances there. There was some questioning about that. So
where was that race at? It was Eastern Europe, right?
Yeah, it was over there. Let's see. Steinrex, that's 6-day record in Denmark, actually.
Denmark, okay.
Yeah.
So definitely not Eastern Europe.
No, but closer to Eastern Europe than United States. Also in September, I got a monkey off my back.
There it is. I love this one.
I DNF'd Mountain Lakes in 2017 for a variety of factors that I'm not going to get into right now. But anyways, I had a year where I didn't need a Hard Rock qualifier. I did need a Western States qualifier, and I didn't have any target races in mind. So I'm like, it's now or never, So I went back up there. The course was changed a bit. The first loop that kind of really did me in at the previous one was actually cut. The distance of that first loop was like cut in half. But anyway, I went back and got it done.
You went back and like kicked its ass too. Like, you had a really good run. Like, I feel like we shouldn't sell short how well you did at that race.
I mean, yeah, it was steady, I guess about like every what you would expect in a 100-miler. Like I maybe started out of the gate too strong, of course. I ended up walking the last 30 miles, but I finished like 28:30 something.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Hell yeah.
Not picky. Tara Dower set the overall Appalachian Trail FKT. Yeah. She's the first person to finish that trail in under 40 days. She went north to south. She battled all the stuff that people normally battled during that course. I think she was smart by waiting out. There was some storms in the starting area, kind of when Mike Wardian started.
Yeah. Yeah, because he had some crappy weather there for a few. Like, there's a couple of his videos that were just like, wowzer.
Yeah, and up on those mountains in the Northeast, which are unforgiving even in the summer. So I think that was smart of her to wait a little bit. And then she just beat Hurricane Helene. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
And then in September, one of our episodes in September is when the news broke about Camille Herron and her husband. Her husband / coach. They got outed for editing other elite runners' wiki pages, which is not illegal to edit a wiki page, right? You can do it, but is it ethical? No. Whatever.
I mean, it could be ethical. It could be ethical. They took
if it was true what they were putting.
They took it to a batshit crazy level. So
and the husband / coach, he jumped on the grenade and said it was all him, not her.
Yeah.
But it'd be hard to believe that she didn't know about it. But
right.
Well, whatever. But yeah, so that story broke. They were editing other elite runners' wiki pages to make them sound less elite and propping hers up to make her sound more elite.
Oh my God.
This goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the show.
Why?
Yeah. There was no reason, no need for her to do that. She's already very accomplished, one of the best multi-day ultra runners in the world. I don't know. Going on to October, Mike Wardian finished the AT, and he had to actually go through Hurricane Helene in the aftermath in his last few days to get it done. A bunch of down trees and everything, and I'm glad he got it done. I'm surprised he did it though. I mean, it seems like safety would have been called into question there, but
I'm trying to remember. I don't even think he came off. He didn't come off the trail. I don't think. I'm trying to remember. I feel like he didn't.
I don't know. I don't know where he was sleeping or anything like that, but I believe he was north of where the hurricane went through when it happened.
Yeah.
And then maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. I do remember him putting photos out of the days after and the trees. Yeah. Dude, holy hell.
Yeah, it slowed his progress and cut it in half.
Yeah.
We talked about let's see. Cordy DeWalter racked up another win at Côte d'Azur or at Nice, the Nice Côte d'Azur, and in France, which is another race where you get it's a UTMB race. You get a ton of big name runners there. And she almost got first overall at that race. So
yeah,
that was a fun one to follow. Sage Canaday did the Taco Bell 50K where you stop at a certain amount of Taco Bells and eat. And then that kind of led us into talking about your beer run that you guys did in Columbus.
The beer runs were phenomenal. It does make me want to rekindle that kind of thing and do either a Taco Bell run, a White Castle run.
Yeah. Some kind of adventure.
Another brewery run. It does make me want to rekindle.
Or we kind of mix all of those.
Dude, Could you imagine doing a brewery Taco Bell combo run? It would be your fucking guts.
Maybe
would
we
hate you.
Maybe we do the Chipotle, like Chipotle and brewery tour. I don't know.
Something
Let's talk about this. We can make it an Ultrarunning News Network event.
Yeah.
Maybe some listeners could travel
You can
in
do
for
it. You can. We let them do it remote. You do it.
Yeah,
remote.
or do virtual.
Here's the rules. Here's the rules of the race. You can do it remote, but like at some point you got to live stream it. You've got to like share the content with us. Oh my God! Like we need to brainstorm that and figure that out. That'd be amazing.
Heck yeah, let's do that. Also in October, Ned Brockman from Australia had an epic attempt at Yannis Kouros's 1,000-mile record, which I think was like 10 days.
10 days.
He had to do it in 10 days.
Yep.
Ned Brockman, he put forth a hell of an effort, man. Like watching the videos of that guy getting out every morning.
I mean, the math on it just feels insanely impossible.
Yeah.
Like
it's just I can't remember. You had to do 100.
It's 100. It's 100 miles.
100 miles a day.
But here's the thing: it has to be faster than 100 miles a day,
yeah,
right? Like
you have to sleep.
You have to. You have to do sub. I mean, in my head, you have to do sub 100 milers. You have to do sub 2200 milers to make it work, right? Because if you do sub 22s, that gives you 2 hours of sleep and wake right back up and do it again.
Oh my God.
For 10 consecutive days.
Dude, Giannis is a freaking legend, man.
Dude, it's amazing. It is amazing.
Wow. So yeah, Ned fell a couple days short. He did end up finishing his 1,000 miles, so in like 12 or 13 days, but pretty awesome.
Look like a coyote chewed him up and shit him off a cliff afterwards, but he got it done.
It did. Also in October, 60 countries competed in Big's Backyard World Championships, which is awesome to see how much this backyard ultra has blown up across the world.
Yeah.
And Belgium ended up taking the win. They had three people set the record for backyard loops. They put in 110 yards, which is a yard is 4.1677777 mile loop, which is almost 460 miles. So that's running like 4.25 miles every hour on the hour for 460 miles. So that's was pretty fun to follow. U.S. got third at that event. Who got second? Was it Australia, maybe, or somebody?
I don't remember. I'll be honest with you. The only thing I remember about that is the fact that Belgium kicked the shit out of everybody.
Yes, they did.
Like, just dominated it. I mean, when you basically have you have three people set world record, right? And then all three of them it's cool. We've flexed enough. We're all going to bow out together.
Yeah,
they just kick the shit out of them.
Yeah, they didn't have a single winner. They just all pieced out at the same loop.
I respect the shit out of that.
Also in October, David Roche entered his second 100-mile run ever, and Javelina Jundred, which is also one of the most famous 100-mile races in the U.S. Attracts tons of fast runners. And what's he do? He goes out there and he wins his second 100-mile ever. Not only does he win, what else does he do, Johnny?
I mean, he fucking set a record, right?
Yeah, he sets the course record.
Yeah.
So he's 2 for 2 on wins. He's 2 for 2 on course records. Yeah, it'd be awesome to see what he does at Western States this year. Throw him in the mix at Western States. That's gonna be fun.
I mean, how's he? He'll probably be my favorite going in. I just feels right. You know what I mean?
He's a very analytical guy. He's very math oriented and he's got his systems down. So it'd be fun. All right, November. this was kind of a fun story. Welsh runner Terry Roselman drew the largest GPS drawing, or otherwise known as Strava art, of a schlong, of a penis, penis and balls on in a 24-hour time period. He did 75 miles, and this was not like an easy 75 miles. It was like in the mountains, like and he drew a large cock and balls, but
it had to have been off trail for some of it too, because it's like it is very readable, if you will. Like, it's not like, what is that supposed to be? Like, I kind of see it. It's not like you have to piece together what it is because he was on trail. It is very much like this dude just went out onto a hillside and drew a giant set, like a giant twig and berries. Like, it's amazing how well it's represented. Like, it's
and we're not like super immature. He actually did this for a reason, for men, to bring awareness to men's health.
I love it. Do it for a reason.
I guess I should say, so we're not only immature. There's other,
I mean, there's
other reasons why we talk about this. Yes.
We are immature, but there's also this.
Courtney Olsen, she set a women's 50-mile record at Tunnel Hill. 50-mile world record, by the way. That was pretty epic. And we had Cole Crosby on talking about that in November. In November, Aravaipa acquired some more races in Colorado, and also 2 races they're putting on in Southern California. So their expansion in the U.S. continues to grow. Connie Gardner made it into the Ultrarunning Hall of Fame. Ohio's Connie Gardner.
Yeah, Queen of Mohican.
The Queen of Mo. Then in December, Mike Morton got into the Ultrarunning Hall of Fame. He's a legendary East Coast runner. He's the first runner east of the Mississippi to win Western States. I believe he set a record there the year he won it too, as well. So I think, but much deserved. Tara Dower got a potential record-breaking sponsorship deal with Ultra in December. We don't know how much. Like, we were kind of laughing about that, how it was, the range was 100,000 to 250,000. Like, a range.
Regardless, from the start of the year to the end of the year, Tara had her one. Like our lady had her a fucking year. Like, she had herself a year. So good on her. Like, absolutely good on her. I forgot about this. Like, shame on me for forgetting about this. But also, the same time when Courtney was running her record-setting time at Tunnel Hill, Josh, a good listener of ours, ran Tunnel Hill, his first ever 50-miler, and he's blind. So he came on the show a few weeks later. We were still in the month of November when he came on, or had we creeped into December? But he came on.
It was right around that time.
It's hard.
November, December,
Thanksgiving off. But Josh ran.
It was right before Thanksgiving, so it was November.
Yeah. So Josh ran that blind, came on, told us about it. Really cool story. So November was a fun month for us because we did have a couple of guests on. We had Cole on, we had Josh on. It was a really fun month for us. Like, I feel like November was like a super, super fun month, even though it was short for us. So
it was. And thanks to Josh and Cole for coming on the podcast. We had a lot of fun talking with you guys. And congrats to Josh for his first 50-mile finish. And also, Cole is running across the years in in like 8 or 9 days. It's around New Year's. I don't know when he's running the 24-hour event, I believe. So
he can listen to this while he runs.
So
the
last
other thing,
go ahead.
No, as I said, the other thing, the last bullet point you have about the month of December, which ultimately goes for the whole year, really.
Yeah. So this is just kind of an overall umbrella statement. It was fun, kind of watching the evolution of FKT, setting throughout the year. I feel like this is becoming such a huge part of ultra running, is the FKTs. And we saw a lot of FKTs go down this year, including several on the Colorado Trail. Bronco Billy and Kyle Curtin, some of the notable elite ultra runners that set records on the Colorado Trail, and Tara Dower, of course, on the Appalachian Trail, setting the overall record there. And Georgia Porter, Nick Fowler on the Arizona Trail, also equally impressive. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we're not even scratching the surface of the amount of FKTs, the high profile FKTs that were set. So it was fun following that as well.
Yeah. You've definitely turned me on to the FKTs. Like before you and I really started talking and even doing this podcast, I really never really thought a lot about the FKTs, never really cared about them. But and now that you've kind of turned me on to the website, it's really interesting to watch some of them go down. You're like, holy hell. And then when you look at the different variations of them and some of the ones, so it's been a really cool. Yeah, this year that was bonkers for FKTs.
And that's one of my favorite parts about FKTs is kind of looking into the routes, because there's so many cool places to run.
Yeah,
I mean, just in the United States alone, it's unlimited. There's so many cool places to run. So gives you a good idea of routes or places to run or trails to try. So it was really fun following that. But so that was our year in a nutshell.
Year in a review.
What a year! I feel like it was a great first year for us to start doing this podcast, because there was a lot of fun news stories to follow in ultra running, looking back at it. So looking forward to what's going to happen in 2025. We'll be here for it. And we're going to take the week of New Year's off for our holiday week. And then we'll be back at it after that with the some more news about the Keeping Trail Running Weird Awards and across the years. Good luck, Cole. We'll be following you there.
Yeah. And, speaking of keeping, so one, yes, good luck, Cole. Right, 100%. We'll be looking. Should be able to watch some of that too, right? I think they live stream some of that.
It is live streamed.
Yeah. So we should be able to see Cole go screaming by a couple of times. So one, good luck, Cole. Two, speaking of keeping ultra running weird, and we got to get wrapped up because this is a 90-minute issue. Did you see Charlotte? It was I support the other costume chicks. So I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, man. I was kind of more voting for the battle of the costume chicks. What I was really looking for. I wanted a turf war or something like that. But no, Charlotte has to be nice. So.
Yeah, well, we'll have to get Charlotte on the podcast here in the early next year sometime, just to talk about that and just talk with her. Actually, she was on another podcast a couple weeks ago, I think. All right. Well, thank you so much again. I know we do it all the time, but I really do. We really appreciate everybody that has listened and stuck with us. I know it's not always exciting, going through race results, but we try to make it as fun as possible and do fun news stories. But we really do appreciate everybody that has followed us and listened and engaged on social media and followed us on our Strava club. And, and if you haven't, please join our Strava club. It's Ultra Running News Network on Strava. You can find us. But other than that, we got some football to watch today. So we're gonna.
I gotta get a run in. I gotta try to get to this just Pie's Pike. Get a pot pie for us for dinner tonight. I gotta watch foosball. I got an action packed old man afternoon coming up for me.
Yeah. That sounds
right.
great. And I'm doing the same, some errands and be ready to watch some football. Watch the Buckeyes at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m.
East.
Eastern. And this episode will be released on, I think I'm going to release it on Monday, just so it's released for the holiday week.
Yeah, cool.
So those games will be done by then. But anyways, I hope everyone has a great Christmas and a happy New Year and or happy holidays. And we look forward to being with you all in 2025.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody.